Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. This one is a little bit of an odd one and needs an intro video, so thank you for bearing with me. I started this vlog back in August of 2022 and my plan was on my week off work that I would binge read the 3 Emily Henry books that were out at that time. So Beach Read, Book Lovers and You and Me / People We Meet on Vacation. I read 2 of them, and so 2 of these clips are back from August, but I then decided I needed a break from Emily Henry, and turns out that break needed to be until April 2023. So that's just to give you some context that most of this video is from back last August. One of the clips is from recently. I still really wanted to post this video, so I decided to go ahead, even though the premise is a little bit weird. And if you hear me talking about things where you're like, I've already watched that video that you're referring to, yeah, it's because the original clips are from a pretty long time ago. So thank you for bearing with me. I didn't want to waste the footage, so I still hope that you'll enjoy it.
It is Monday the 22nd of August and I've decided to start another reading vlog. It is a new week, I'm off work this week, so I'm keen to start a new reading vlog. I did some filming for my planning channel this morning. I've been planning for a few hours. I'm really behind on my planner, so just been doing some of my memory spreads, and now I'm going to do some reading. So my plan for this vlog is to do an Emily Henry reading vlog. So I own 3 Emily Henry books. I don't know if there's any more, but I feel like these are the only 3 that I hear people mention. So I think these are the 3, which is Book Lovers, Beach Read and You and Me on Vacation. I'm looking at them on my shelves. And I've decided that I'm going to read all 3 of the Emily Henry books in this video to give my thoughts on what I think of Emily Henry as an author. I am a big romance reader. It's the genre that I've read most throughout my life, particularly my adult life. But even like when I was a teen, I would read kind of like teen romance books. So I love reading romance, and also I would like to get a bit further in Polathon. I've done pretty well. By my standards, I've done pretty well. I've read like 6 books or something like that, which for me, honestly, is pretty good. But I would like to make some headway this week because last week I really didn't read a lot. I basically was just reading Mr. Wrong Number for days because it put me in like a weird reading slump. I'll talk about it in my wrap-up video. But I am keen to make some progress in Polathon, and therefore I'm going to read 3 romances because I know I can get through them quicker. I mean, I say that Mr. Wrong Number is a romance, but I can get through it quicker. So I just think it would be really interesting to see what I think of Emily Henry, and if I read all 3 books, then I can make a pretty good assessment of what I think of her. So that's my plan. I have no idea which one I'm going to read first because I don't know the blurbs of each of these books. So I'm going to read those now and figure out which one I'm going to read and let you know. So I've decided to go for Beach Read. Not for any particular reason, it's just Book Lovers is enemies to lovers, and it's not my favourite trope. I'm sure the book is good, but it's not my favourite trope. And I just read Mr. Wrong Number, which is not really enemies to lovers, but it kind of is. So I need a different trope. So Beach Read is about 2 authors, January and Gus, who both need to write their next bestseller in order to kind of meet their financial goals, or kind of even, I mean, they're saying they're both broke, so things are probably pretty desperate, but they've got really bad writer's block, and so they end up writing each other's books, and it's seeing kind of how that changes things. So I'm interested to start with this one. So I'm going to go read this now, and then I'll check in as we go through. I also had to buy new Polathon bookmarks because mine fell out of a book a couple of weeks ago and I bent it, and it mostly looks fine, but I really like the feel of these bookmarks, and so I didn't want to have a crease in it, so I have had to buy them again, which is kind of unnecessary, but also it donates to the polar bears, so all good. That is the other thing I should say here, is kind of what is Polathon. So Polathon is a readathon hosted by JD Ray Reads, a readathon that's happening all throughout August. There are no prompts, it's just read as much as you can, so that's great. And every 100 pages you read, you catch a fish, which is kind of just a thing that happens. It's just a sort of, you know, part of the challenge. But many people are donating to Polar Bear International as part of doing the readathon, which I will also be doing. And so for every 100 pages I read, I'll be donating £1 to Polathon. So I want to get a little bit further to kind of push the amount that I'm donating a bit. So that is why I'm keen to get through quite a few books this week if I can, because it would be good to up my page count. I might try and add in like a graphic novel or something. I've just got Laura Olympus, so if I read Lore Olympus it would like massively up my page count without taking too long to read, so I'll probably kind of throw that in there at the end of August. But for the purposes of this video we will be reading Emily Henry for Polathon. So now I'll go and start this and let you know what I think, for real. Hello friends, it is Tuesday. I did film a bit about this book yesterday, but I'm just not going to include it. I'm trying to be more coherent in my vlogs, and I feel like that wrap up was exactly me not being coherent, so I'm going to refilm that part today. An update of where I'm at with Beach Read. I'm on about page 120, something like that. I'm absolutely loving it so far. It is so good. Emily Henry's writing is so smart and witty. And it does mean that for some of the sections, I am having to read them over again a couple of times. It's not really a read you can just skim through. You have to be fully in it. But I am still really enjoying that. I love the setting of this book and I love the characters. I love that we've got kind of grumpy sunshine, but January is actually going through a really difficult time. I love how that's represented. I was a bit taken aback by the mentioning of cancer in this book, so there is a trigger warning for that. That is a personal thing to me, as someone whose parent has gone through this particular kind of cancer, and that's hit me a little bit hard. I thought it wasn't going to show up again in the book because it's not like a focal point of the story, but it is coming back quite a lot. So just something to be aware of if that's a trigger warning for you. And I really don't see that as a spoiler because it's like mentioned from the beginning of the book. Other than that though, it is... You can tell it's a romance, but it's not necessarily a typical romance in the way that it's written is almost as if Emily Henry is writing about herself. Now, I'm not saying she is, but it's like a romance author who's writing, and how she's sort of saying that she writes women's fiction as opposed to romance. And I would actually say this book is like that. So yes, there is the romance, but it is about January's story and the struggles that she's facing. It's a really interesting premise in how her and Gus end up writing each other's books. So I love that. The main thing I love about this though is Gus, because January has dated a guy called Jacques. My French is terrible. Jacques? I don't know. But January's previous boyfriend was like the perfect guy, the like golden hair, bright blue eyes, tall, incredibly like muscly and really like worked out all the time, that kind of thing. And she is not with him. And Gus is still, you know, obviously January is very attracted to him, but he's like graying at the edges of his hair and he's gone softer with older age. And I just could cry. What January finds most attractive about him is like his eyes and his personality. And I read so much romance and so much of it is like the girl was tiny. And admittedly, we did get a bit of January being short, but not small, short, though she was referred to by Gus as small. So it's going to be interesting to see if that comes up again, because the only thing that stopped me giving The Love Hypothesis 5 stars was the constant mentioning of how small Olive was compared to how big Adam was. And so we did get a little bit of a small reference, but I'm hoping it doesn't come up again. But other than that, I think that having a romantic interest who isn't super toned, etc., I love that. So I'm loving this book. I'm really excited to read some more, and I'm ready to just have a bit of relax time this afternoon. I'm gonna try not to be incredibly dramatic here. I love this book. This is a 5-star read for me, and I don't have many of those, so I think that's something special. I have just finished it, and I'm not entirely sure how coherent I'm going to be about it because I've cried through a lot of this book, the last third, but I'm going to try my best to be, without giving spoilers or anything like that. If you have ever suffered from depression, grief in any form, I recommend this book. There is a part of it when Gus says something that it was at that point that I started sobbing because the way that he describes the feeling of not feeling like you can live up to loving someone you want so badly to love is so me. So me. So yes, I love this book. It's not
entirely perfect. There's a couple of errors in here that did pull me out a little bit, and things that make me think that maybe I am in like entirely the wrong career and that I would be a good book proofreader, because there's stuff I pick up that I kind of think, how did that like get to publication without being picked up? But anyway, not like a written error, like a plot error, but really super small. I don't like January being called small. It came up again, but that was it. And I feel like the way this book made me feel outweighs those things. It isn't quite the same as Heartstopper, which is truly my favorite book, because the way that, I don't know, that set of books is something special. Like I will never know again, I don't think. But this made me feel seen in the way that Charlie makes me feel seen. And Nick is like the perfect boyfriend in Heartstopper, whereas Gus has his own stuff, and it just, I really resonated with Gus, which is weird because I think really I'm a January, but if so much of January's life is my own life, and the guilt that January feels is my own guilt, because I have been through what January's been through. But it was Gus that like broke me. So I don't know, to be able to see yourself in both characters. I have to keep stopping my filming because my neighbours are coming home, and we have the living room window open because it's so warm, and it's just like, I'm in the middle of a very impassioned speech about a book, can't you tell? Anyway, what I was saying is, My Mechanical Romance also did that I saw, but I think I saw a lot more of myself in Teo. I just liked the women in STEM stuff, but it was Teo that I like kind of saw myself in. But yeah, in this one, definitely saw myself in both characters, which I absolutely loved. So yes, I love this book. It's a definite 5-star read for me. I have to say, I think the marketing is way off for this book. It is 100% not what I expected. Like, I understand why it's called Beach Read in terms of it being about January figuring out why she can't write a rom-com, but it's not the right name for this book. The visuals of this book and the like blurb and the fact that it's like 2 writers, 1 holiday. It's not a holiday. Like, it's, and I don't know if it's supposed to be this way. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to draw you in and then be so much more than that, or whether it's just that the marketing company want to market it as a like fluffy rom-com, which is so how it reads. It's so how it reads, and it's nothing like that. Like, it's heartbreaking and like pulls you so many different ways, and I don't know if it's supposed to be ironic or not, but I think not. So yes, if you pick this up, it's not what you think it's going to be. It's not a fluffy romance. It's something entirely different. It's so worth reading. But if you are picking this up because you're thinking you're going to get some like light fluffy steam scenes and that's it, to like read by the beach, like read on the beach or whatever, it's not that. It's so not that. It's so something different. So yes, I do completely recommend it, but just go in with your eyes open. There is a lot of trauma to deal with in this book from both characters. It's really hard going. And I would never normally choose to read something like this, but maybe I am supposed to be reading stuff like this. It was so good. I absolutely loved it. I think it's what I needed for this time of my life as well. I'm really going through some stuff at the moment, and this just, this is what I needed to hear. It's what I needed to hear. So I loved it. So we've started strong. Also, do you love my Baymax hoodie? Stuart got me this for my birthday and I'm obsessed with it. Baymax is like everything. So I now have the 2 other Emily Henry books to read. So I have Book Lovers and People We Meet on Vacation, or if whatever it's called over here, you and Me on Vacation. And I have no idea which one of those I'm gonna read. So I have to figure that out. Part of me is like, do I need to like decompress? Do I need to read something else before I carry on with this? Because what if the other 2 are like this? What will I do with myself? I'll be broken, but like in a good way. So yeah, I don't know whether to read something else, but I would probably read Lore Olympus, and I think that's going to break me too. So not sure, need to think about it, but yeah, we will carry on this vlog in some capacity. I just don't know what that will be, but I'll check in with you when I next figure I can like live my way through another Emily Henry book. Good afternoon. I was gonna say good morning, but hi friends. It is Wednesday at, I don't know, 1ish, 1:15, and I started reading Book Lovers yesterday. I'm not really far enough through to judge because I was reading it like while I was in bed, so I'm probably like 20-30 pages in, so we'll see. You know, liking it so far, but like I'm nowhere really in the story. But please, we don't have a really short character. I mean, I'm short, but you know what I mean, the whole smallness thing. We'll see if it manages to get written in, but the character Nora's like 5'10", so I figure maybe we won't get that in this book, and that would be really nice. Also, very excitingly, Love on the Brain arrived today by Ali Hazelwood, and sort of want to drop everything and read it, but we're in the middle of an Emily Henry vlog here. So I probably at least need to finish Book Lovers, might take a brief pause to read Love on the Brain and then come back. But also I haven't done any reading so far today, like my morning is just kind of gone, and tomorrow I really need to learn the music for a concert that I'm in a couple of months, because I haven't looked at it yet, and tomorrow is the first rehearsal I can make. They've been rehearsing for like a month, but I haven't been able to go, and I don't even really know what songs we're doing, and I've not looked at them or anything, so like I have to do that tomorrow. Also, I really apologise for the state of me. I wish there was you know, another reason I could give other than just this is how I look all the time, but this is how I look all the time. So anyway, what I should be doing now is reading, but I'm really craving brownies, and I was just going to buy some. I went to Morrison's earlier. I could have just bought some, but I decided I could make some. I baked a couple of things probably about 6 months ago, but I did like 3 bakes in really quick succession, and I really enjoyed myself doing it. It was the first time I'd ever done brownies, and they came out really well. So this would have been Easter, because I did some cream egg ones, and they came out really well, if I do say so myself, and so I would really like to do some more. So I'm gonna do them. That's what we're gonna do now, and then I need to get to reading my urticaria. This is the worst day so far, and part of me thinks it's kind of silly to be moving around in a hot kitchen, but we are where we are. I also apologise if you can hear the washing machine. Life's got to move on, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna bake some brownies. I am making some by Fit Waffle. So if you don't follow Fit Waffle, she is an Instagrammer who does loads of really like gooey and really lovely looking kind of desserts and stuff, and I actually have her recipe book, and I did go through that to see if there was one in there I wanted to do, but I wasn't in the mood for any of them. Though I think, to be honest, I'm effectively making one of them just with a few more things added in, because her recipe book is very focused on like 3 ingredient bakes, and that would have probably been better than what I'm doing, which is doing one with multiple ingredients, but is very similar to the one I was looking at in her recipe book. But oh well, that's fine. So yeah, I'm going to be doing their like a fudgy Nutella with dark chocolate and white chocolate. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm very excited about that. I don't know what else I'm going to say here. That's probably it. So I'll film a bit of me baking, and then I'll show you the final product. And then I will get to some reading and give you my thoughts on Book Lover. Book Lovers? Book Lovers.
You know when you have those days where like the whole day just goes? It's one of those. It's like 3:30. I am now finally at 3:30 going to read Book Lovers. I would love to finish it today because I want to read Love on the Brain, but I feel like that's ridiculous. Let me show you Love on the Brain actually. Ain't she a beaut? I have the Waterstones edition. So pretty. So pretty. I did not need this Love Hypothesis sticker on there. Like, particularly when I pre-ordered it, it's like, clearly I know. I've not like just pre-ordered it because I don't know who she is. Like, I understand that this edition will go into normal Waterstones, but I feel like these stickers, you know, at least it's better than the TikTok sticker, which I have on the Love Hypothesis, but I feel like I didn't really need this. But anyway, this edition is so gorgeous. So yeah, I really want to read this, but I need to get through Book Lovers. And like, even just, I ended up rewatching a video that Steph Loves did, which was her like top book so far of 2022, and Book Lovers is her second top book. Like, everyone loves Book Lovers the most out of the 3 Emily Henry books, so I know that I need to stick with it. I'm interested to see if I'm going to love it though, because it is enemies to lovers, which is not my favorite trope. I apologize because I know it's everyone else's, but it just isn't mine. Often because I'm just like, I like Grumpy Sunshine a lot. Like Love Hypothesis, Grumpy Sunshine, I'm such a fan. But enemies to lovers, I find it difficult to believe that would actually happen. So yeah, I am very interested to see if I like it as much as I like Beach Read, because Beach Read was just very much my kind of story. So I'm super interested. I will check in with you at some point, either today or tomorrow, to let you know how I'm getting on. Hello, it is Saturday. I can't remember when I last checked in with this, but it was quite a lot earlier in the week. So brief update on my week for you. My urticaria got completely out of control. I spoke with my dermatologist, who massively upped my medication, even more than it was already upped. I'm now on steroids as well. Yesterday was a better day, but I've woken up this morning with it all over my body again, so that's cool. But anyway, that's fine. That's just where we are. So I have finished Book Lovers because yesterday I was feeling a lot better, so I read like over 3/4 of this book yesterday. Gonna be not controversial because you can love the books you love, and that's completely fine. And so just to be clear, it's not like my opinion is more valuable than anyone else's or anything like that, but I know this is the most popular of Emily Henry's books. I can see that based on the number of reviews on Goodreads, though I think this might have been a Book of the Month book, and I can see it has a high number of 5 stars. I don't love it as much as Beach Read, and I only gave it 4 stars. So let me talk through my process. I'm not even sure that I've really even spoken about what this book is about, because I was like 20 pages in before when I last checked in. So basically this is, I mean, you might have read this at this point realistically, but if you haven't, this is the story of Nora, who is a literary agent, and she has a meeting with Charlie, who is a book editor, in the sort of opening stages of the book, having just been broken up with by somebody. It's really fiery from the beginning, their conversation, so it's kind of enemies to eventually lovers through this story. And she also, we learn quite early on, you don't know this from the blurb, so I guess I shouldn't spoil that, but it's very much part of the story. Like, it's not a reveal or a surprise, so I think it's fine to say it. You learn that her mum has passed away, and I think it's important to know that from a trigger warning because it is a focus of the book. And her sister Libby, she kind of raised Libby, particularly as like teenagers, and they obviously had very challenging lives because it was just them and their mum, and so when their mum passed away, it was very much just those two. And Libby asks her to go on a trip for a month in the summer, saying that she just really needs to get away, etc. And Nora would do literally anything for her sister, so she goes. They have a checklist of stuff that they are trying to complete while they're on this holiday, one of which is for Nora to meet a man there and you know, fall in love, etc. which is very much Libby's idea, not Nora's, but she ends up keeping running into Charlie and then sort of learning why Charlie is there. There's also some kind of tension between her and Libby, and it's trying to figure that out, and also for Nora to try and understand a bit more about herself and kind of the type of life she could have, the type of relationship she could have. That's the general premise. So there is a lot I love about this story. So I want to be clear, like, this is somewhere between a 4 and 4.5 stars for me. In my head, this was a 4-star because I also rated The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren as 4 stars. And did I enjoy that more than this? I don't know. So I rated that 4 stars, and then I rated It Happened One Summer and Hook, Line and Sinker higher than 4 stars. No, It Happened One Summer was 4, and then Hook, Line and Sinker was kind of like 4.2, 4.5, something like that. And the reason I did that is because Hook, Line and Sinker, despite the fact that I have problems with Hook, Line and Sinker, I did really enjoy it. Like, I just had a really good time reading it. And then Hook, Line and Sinker, I liked the story more, so I felt it should be rated higher. But maybe these are all 4 stars, I don't know. But yeah, with this one, I'm still kind of debating, but I think for me it's a 4-star. But I mean, obviously that's not a bad thing. It's just, it feels really weird to come off of like a beloved 5-star like beach read to read something that everyone else loves more and it to be a 4-star. But I think the reasons are, for me, are, so the things I like about this book mostly is Charlie. I love Charlie. I love that Emily Henry writes love interests that are not perfect but perfect for the main character, and that's a big part of this book. And I love that they are, you know, hairs are greying, because around 30 that's common in guys, and I love that we have that. She also often writes in a character, or she has in these two anyway, who are the kind of typical like romance Adonis, and then the love interest isn't like, the main character is not picking them for a love interest. That's always like quite an interesting comparison, that they're picking people who, you know, are more suited to them and not the typical like romance character. So I really like those elements of it. I just really like the way that she writes that. And Charlie is just very real, and he has a lot of real problems and real guilt about certain things, and I just really love that about him. He's very sharp and witty. I also think Nora, very sharp, very witty. I also like she's not 5'4", she's like a tall woman. But what I love more is that Charlie loves her. I just think that the way that Charlie is, I really like Charlie. But Nora is, you know, I can sympathise a lot with Nora as someone who is a workaholic, not nearly to the level that Nora is, but I can be, and I get it. So that element of it, the general idea of the story, I think kind of makes sense. It has some real twists in it, not all of which I saw coming. I saw some coming, but not all of them. And so that's very interesting, because I don't think you get that in a lot of like typical romances, though I'm really learning Emily Henry is not a typical romance writer. So if you want fluffy romance, these are just not it. So yeah, I think that is, and Emily Henry's writing is so witty, and I really love that as well. I think it was a mistake to read Emily Henry back to back. Now I understand that's what this vlog is, but on reflection, obviously I didn't really know this going in, but her romances are too emotional. I actually can't read them back to back. Like, I need fluffier in the middle. I need more happy ending-y type romances, which if you read Emily Henry, you'll kind of know what I mean, because Emily Henry talks a lot about that type of romance and about happy endings and stuff like that, and I think I need this interspersed with these, because they're just hard going. And I think particularly with beach read, so much of it spoke to me that I just felt a bit broken afterwards, and I maybe shouldn't have gone straight into another book which has a lot of difficult themes. I couldn't identify with these as much, and I think that's why beach read is just like such a good book for me, because it just spoke to me on so many levels, whereas this one I haven't experienced the same things the main characters experience, which I absolutely do not need to have in a romance. It just meant that like I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it, and that's really the only difference. Also, I think at times I felt
some of the drama was a bit slow. Like, I felt like we were reliving the same things, particularly around Nora and her mum, a lot. So that was a little bit difficult to read. And then I felt like the drama with Libby took a really long time to come out, and I understand why it did, but it meant that we were sort of dealing with the same things repeatedly. And so I just felt the pacing of this book was a bit slower, and the way that it ended, obviously not going to talk about that here, but the way that it ended, like, we spend a lot of the book talking about happy endings. It's like a real focus of this book is about happy endings, and that not everyone gets those. And Beach Read is also like that. And Beach Read's ending is optimistic, but in a different way. Like, if you've ever listened to the soundtrack for Avenue Q, the final number for now, go and listen to that and then tell me that Beach Read's ending is not like that. And that to me, because I'm a fan of Avenue Q, is like a real life ending. This one got a different sort of ending. I'm trying so hard not to do spoilers here, but got a different sort of ending, and I just wasn't sure it was in keeping with this story, as beautiful as it was. I did cry in this book though, but I felt like my crying, Beach Read like ripped my soul out, whereas Book Lovers, I was crying in the way that I would cry at any romance novel, so it didn't feel as specific to this story. So yeah, but overall I did really enjoy it. So I really don't think this is negative, because I don't rate many books 5 stars at all. Like, I'm very stingy with my 5 stars. So the fact that I have given this 4 to 4.5, wherever it's going to sit, though I think it's a 4, but wherever it's going to sit is really good going. So I am very excited to read the final one, which is You and Me on Vacation, or People We Meet on Vacation in the States. But I do think I will pause this vlog at this point and I will read Love on the Brain first. I'm not really going to have time to read today. So today we're going to go out for lunch, and then I'm meeting my mum and we're going to see Fisherman's Friends 2, the film. And then we've got Sunday and Monday because it's a bank holiday weekend, so I might do some more reading then. But yeah, I think I'm gonna take a pause and read Love on the Brain and then come back and finish my Emily Henry reading. Giving Emily Henry the best chance of getting the best scores from me, I need to not have my heart ripped out of me again. And so I need to not read these back to back. And we are back in the present, though I don't think I look much different than I did in those clips from August, despite the fact I am nowhere near on that level of unwell, but I'm still suffering with the thing I was unwell from and don't feel great today. So I still look pretty rough. But anyway, I wanted to come in and update you as we're now in the present. I'm now reading You and Me on Vacation, or People We Meet on Vacation is what it's called in the States. You and Me on Vacation is a much more appropriate title for this book. I've heard a few people say that before, but I absolutely agree. I am about 150 pages into this. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. Let me tell you what this is about. So we open in the first scene with Poppy on holiday, and you think that she's chatting up this guy, but it actually turns out Alex is her best friend, and she is kind of like putting him through his paces to try and help him to kind of get better at being picked up by women, I guess. And then we flip to modern times, and the story is constantly flipping back from modern times to previous holidays. We find out that Poppy is working for basically like a travel magazine, a high-end travel magazine, and the reason that she's got there is through years of hard graft, years of traveling on a budget, being basically a social media influencer, and then ending up getting this sort of more permanent job. Every summer, she would always go away on a summer trip with Alex. They met when they were at university. They were completely unlikely friends, but they end up becoming friends. And then they always go away on this summer trip. But something happened on their most recent summer trip, which I still don't know at 150 pages into the book. And either I think I can guess, or at least the book is leading a certain way, but we'll see. We are continuously waiting for what's happening in the present, while Poppy is kind of reaching out to Alex and trying to rekindle their friendship, while in between each of those chapters you get a reflection on back when they first met or one of the summer trips. I just love it. I really love it. It's typical Emily Henry in that it's so well written.
This is, I think, the lightest of the three. I think this was her first one. And this one is so much lighter than Beach Read or Book Lovers, at least so far. We don't have nearly as much kind of challenging mental health stuff. And I don't know whether I'm going to get blindsided in the last 150 pages or something like that. So I'm kind of hoping not, because I could do without a heavy read. But going into an Emily Henry, I knew that I might get that. Characters are so likable. They're so real. I am definitely an Alex. I feel like this is a Grumpy Sunshine, in that Poppy is definitely Sunshine. Alex, he's not necessarily grumpy, but I think that is kind of the dynamic between them. Yeah, I'm an Alex, I think. But you really want them to be together. It's so clear that their feelings for each other are so strong, even when they don't acknowledge it. And the way Poppy says there's like 5% of her that thinks maybe that there could be a what if between them, but you just, every second they spend together, you want it to be a thing. You're like, you know, it's more than 5%. It's just there's only 5% she's acknowledging. I love it. Absolutely love it. Right now, do I think I love it more than... I definitely love it more than Book Lovers. Sorry, everybody, because I know that Book Lovers is all your favourite. I know it is. But Beach Read was always my favourite. Book Lovers wasn't my favourite. I definitely love this more than Book Lovers. I don't know if I love it more than Beach Read. It's obviously now like 9 months since I read Beach Read, so right now this is the one I'm reading. This is a much lighter read, it's a much easier read. Beach Read I sobbed through, so I think that was kind of why I love Beach Read. So I don't know if I love this one more, but right now I'm really enjoying this. It was exactly what I needed, and it's been so rare lately that I've been desperate to read a book, so much so that I stay up late, that I can't put it down. And this was me yesterday. I read this 150 pages over the course of up to 4 hours, but I think because of stopping and starting, it was probably more like 3 hours. I just couldn't get enough. I had to really force myself to go to bed at like 12:30, because I was like, there's no point keeping reading. You can't get through the other half. You'd have to stay up all night to get through the other half. So I'm desperate to read it this morning, which is really good, because I've been overdoing it this week, and I could have sat today doing a ton more content, but actually the fact that I want to just sit here and read is what I've been craving this week. So I'm so happy. A big thank you to this book for getting me to do that. I'm gonna go lie on the sofa and chill and read the rest of the book, and I think I'll probably just check in when it's done. It is 1:13 and I really need to have some lunch and probably get dressed, find a better angle for this clip. But I have just finished You and Me on Vacation. This is an absolute 5-star. This is my favourite book of the year so far. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The last 150 pages are as good as the first 150. There's a few things around the sort of like constant mentioning of being a millennial, which dragged me out of the story a tiny bit, but also I do feel it was important to include, because so much of what Poppy is dealing with in this, which she starts to acknowledge in the second part of the book, is so much of what I think on a quite often basis, and it's part of what I'm in therapy for. It really spoke to me as a millennial. It really spoke to me, and I think it's really important that books like this exist. And at times you kind of want to shake Poppy and be like, oh, you don't necessarily have it that bad, or you're worrying about things that are so silly. But then I take a step back and I'm like, oh, but I am that. I feel exactly like that. So yeah, just Emily Henry books always make me think. They always make me see parts of myself in both the characters often. And whilst I think I lean more of an Alex, I could definitely understand the sort of mental health stuff that Poppy is dealing with in this book. So yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I'm starting to get like emotional about it now. I didn't sob through it like Beach Read or anything. I'm a little bit like teary about it now, but not in a kind of like overly obsessive way like I was with Beach Read. But frankly, I think I enjoyed this as much. It was just so good, and I just really wanted Poppy and Alex to be together. And you know, I just fundamentally believe these two people were soulmates, and I just loved reading about it. So I absolutely loved it, and I have nothing else to say really, other than if you haven't read any of Emily Henry's books so far, I can't recommend them anymore to you. They are so good. She is such a good writer. They are funny. They are real. I just love them. I love them so much. And I think I could probably call Emily Henry, other than Alice Oseman, if we take Hot Stopper out of it, I think I could definitely call Emily Henry my favourite writer. This one did have Alex is tall and Poppy is small, which I really don't like in books, but she's not tiny, and that like is definitely part of the story. And so I think it was okay, and I think it's more endearing in this. It was like ever so slightly, maybe like one time too many that it was brought up, but yeah, I think like I was able to look past that. And yeah, so I think I could probably confidently call Emily Henry my favourite author. It's making me question whether I have loved the other 5 stars I've read this year as much as this. So I've read 2 other 5 stars, which is The Heart Principle by Helen Hoang and Hang the Moon by Alexandria Belfler. This is definitely number 1, but it has Hang the Moon vibes, in that Hang the Moon has a kind of similar male character. I think what I particularly love about this is Alex, I love a book with a guy who is a good guy. Like, that's fundamentally what I want to read. I am engaged to a good guy. I'm engaged to an Alex. And I love reading about that in books. I just think it's a much healthier character for women to read about, because so much women's literature is about brooding, kind of treat you like crap guys. Like, so much. I don't want to bring up the hating game, but I'm going to bring up the hating game. So much of it is like enemies to lovers, and I don't want to read that. Like, I've never been in an enemies to lovers relationship. I had a friends to lovers, and then I had whatever you would call my other long-term relationship. But and Stuart and I weren't friends before we were set up on a blind date. But Stuart is like the best, of course, so I'm marrying him. But I just think if I had read more healthy literature when I was younger, I might have fought for what I thought I deserved earlier. There were definitely times in my other long-term relationships where I thought, is there more than this? Am I wanting too much? In fact, I was told many times by people I've like dated and been in relationships with that what I wanted was too much. And then I met Stuart and it wasn't too much. And I actually talk about this quite a lot on this channel and often don't include the clips. So we'll see if this makes it in. But I just wish that I had known earlier. Well, I don't, because then I wouldn't be with Stuart. Do I wish I could have had 10 more years with Stuart? Yeah, I do. But I'm so grateful to have him now. But I wish that I had been able to recognise earlier that the things that I felt that I could want were things I could ask for. And it's actually something Poppy talks about in this as like a millennial trait, where she says that you feel like you can't ask for what you deserve. And I don't know what that is about our generation, but it's true. And you feel like you should be grateful when you've got the things you want, and how the wanting of things and the fighting for things affects so much of your 20s. It's just, oh, this book is so powerful. It's so powerful. So yeah. Anyway, I feel like my brain is all over the place, but yeah, I definitely love this more than the other 2 books. But I have sort of tiers in my mind when I rank my books of like, I have 5 stars and then I'd have what I call 6 stars. And I'm very harsh with my 5 stars. I don't give them out very generously. So this is my 29th book of the year. And I, to a point, question whether Hang the Moon is really deserving of the 5 star. If I didn't give The Love Hypothesis 5 stars, which maybe I should have done, I'm not 100% sure if Hang the Moon totally deserved the full 5 stars for me. But I have what I would consider a level of 6 stars. And that is reserved for Heartstopper, You and Me on Vacation, Beach Read, and Boyfriend Material. And those are the books. And the Jade Legacy series, the what's it called, Greenbone Saga. Those are what belong in the 6 star tier. So then part of me is like, well, if they're the 6 star, are they technically the 5 star? So I have to readjust everything accordingly. But learning about my reading is so interesting to understand like where the tiers of books are and what I do and don't like to read, and it's been such an interesting journey learning who I am as a reader in my 30s as opposed to who I was as a reader when I was like 18 to 23. It's a really interesting journey and one that I am really enjoying, and ultimately it doesn't matter what I rate stuff on Goodreads because it doesn't matter. What matters is how I tell you what I love the books, and you should read this book. I also think this is maybe the one that I feel is most accurate to the branding. I say this in the other clips, but I don't think that Emily Henry books are well branded. I think they look much lighter reading than they actually are. This, I would say, of the three is the lightest to read. This one probably won't break you in the way that Beach Read broke me. You've seen it in this vlog. This one didn't break me. I do feel quite teary now and I probably will go and cry, but it doesn't break you in the same way. So this one is maybe a lighter read, but even then I still wouldn't consider them light fluffy romances. There's a lot that they deal with. There's always mental health rep. So that's the only thing I don't like about Emily Henry books, is the way that they market them. I think is just different to what they are, but at least this one is the closest to being accurate.
And because I was expecting that this final clips were actually going to go into a weekly vlog rather than into this vlog, because I didn't think I had enough content when I actually did, I didn't film an outro. So here I am to film the outro. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed, even if it was a little bit strange. If you did enjoy it, I would really appreciate a like. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. You'll find links in the description to my Goodreads if you want to check up on my reading as and when I actually read stuff rather than back in August. And you can also find my Instagram where I post a mixture of book and planning content. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!